Alrighty, guys, what is up, ICP Squad? Welcome, everybody. I'm VictorICPSquad with ICP Squad. Today, we have a very special guest, Andrew from Dfinity. So, a lot of people have been asking about the SNS1. Many people are very excited because they received an airdrop because they were able to purchase an SNS tokens. And even I myself was surprised at the performance of the token in the aftermarket. So, let's begin by can you introduce yourself to us, Andrew? And let us know a little bit about who you are and the SNS token and all of that.
Yeah, sure thing. A nice intro, by the way. That $2,000 ICP price. Quite funny.
Thank
a
you.
Nice collection of memes in general. Yeah. My name is Andrew. I work at Dfinity. Going back a little bit, I used to be a web developer, studied web design and development, and worked for a few years. After that, I did my master's in data science and machine learning. And after I worked about a year in data science, and that's when I heard about the computer, and it just completely sucked me in. So I quit my data science career just to come work for Dfinity and help make the computer what it's meant to be. And yeah, it's been I think like 8 months since I joined Dfinity. It already feels like I've been here forever, but it's been an incredibly fun ride, and I wouldn't say bumpy at times, but I mean there are a lot of 12-hour days to make this whole thing work. Yeah, and here I work as a developer relations engineer. At least that's my official title. But recently I've moved a little bit closer to content creation, copywriting, some project management, and a lot of communications around stuff like the SNS. So I'm sure some of your viewers have seen me on Twitter answering questions or posting updates about SNS1 and on Discover.
All right. So, guys, those of you that are watching on YouTube, go ahead and comment your questions. I know there's a lot of questions about SNS1, about Andrew, about Dfinity, about what's happening. I'm personally going to ask the questions that I had in my heart. I also want to apologize. Bitcoin Renegade was going to be a part of this video, but he was feeling a little bit under the weather today. So, Renegade, if you're watching this, I wish you were here, and I hope you get better soon. But so let's begin with something that a lot of people are complaining about, but I actually consider a massive win. During the sale of the SNS1 token, some people were not able to purchase, right? And then there's another thing that I'm going to ask later. But some people were not able to purchase, and but they got their money refunded. So let me begin by saying I think it's a huge win. I personally don't use Ethereum. I've used it a couple of times in the past, and to buy some tokens or whatever. But I understand from my knowledge that in Ethereum, whenever something like this happens, and I think one of the biggest examples was Basie Bored Apes, but people have to pay that gas fee, right? So the transaction fails or something, there's a whole bunch of gas wasted. It's not wasted because it's deflationary or whatever, but there's and they don't I mean they don't get it back. So can you tell us about that and about ICP and kind of what went on there?
Of course, yeah. The launch was definitely crazy at the decentralization sale. And it's also it's a testament to the NNS that even though, we were hitting 13,000 transactions per second on that day, like real transactions per second. And I mean, the NNS slowed down a lot, but it didn't crash. The whole thing went through and it eventually worked, so nothing broke, but it slowed down the network a lot. And yeah, we've heard this. I think I just reread it today that when the Bored Apes launched, people burned $180 million in gas fees, which is ouch. I mean, if you imagine having or burning $1,000 because you want to get a transaction through and it still fails, and because those tokens are burned, there is no refund. We had a few not failed transactions, but the SNS1 sale has multiple steps, so it creates multiple transactions, and the last one of which creates the neuron that you have in your airdrop. And because of the network traffic, the increased traffic, one of those steps failed, so your ICP was transferred properly, but you didn't get the airdrop. And because these transactions are not burned, we could all see these not failed transactions, but these failed SNS sale purchases. I mean, we just we refunded everyone back a few days later. So, and I mean, if events like this happen on Solana, then the whole network crashes. If one of the smart contracts is overloaded, because I think it's enough to crash one smart contract, or I might be mistaken here, but I think it's enough to crash one smart contract sometimes to burn down to get the whole network to stop, which is, yeah. While the NNS was really slow, I think it was still we got through it, and yeah, I think the sale lasted about 50 minutes because of the slowdown. But yeah, a lot of people, and also it was in a way good because you could at least be trying, and it didn't end the whole thing in 5 seconds, and then if you missed it, you missed it. You could still keep trying at least, and some of us got lucky and could buy an SNS token.
Yeah, I I saw some jokes on Twitter about how engineers were like, "Wow, it crashed, but it worked," and people were angry or something like that. So I think it was a huge success. I think it's good that we didn't lose like millions of dollars in ICP, and the people that didn't get it, it's unfortunate. But you got your ICP back, so I think that accounts for something. So the other thing that I want to talk about, I've been
And also just one more thing, and now we saw real life stress test of the NNS. We saw what real traffic looks like, because you can simulate traffic, but this was actually real people
traffic.
clicking on the refresh button 10 times a second, and now the engineers or the NNS team knows exactly, I mean, how to improve it, and then they can optimize later. So next time when there is, I don't know, double the traffic than there was with SNS1, the NNS should still be able to handle it. Sorry, go on.
All right, nice, excellent. So the other thing that a lot of the engineers and everybody was posting that the SNS1 is more like a beta test. It's like an experiment. Whenever I was actually lucky enough to receive an airdrop, I was lucky because I used OpenChat just that week, and I don't use it too often. I would like to, but I'm waiting for there to be a phone app with notifications and stuff, and not only in the browser. But I was lucky enough to use OpenChat that week and was busy on it, and I got an airdrop. So I was like, yes. But I wasn't expecting the popularity of the SNS1 token to go as far as it did. In my mind, I was like, okay, this might be 10, 20, 30 ICP or something, what a blessing, whatever. But I mean, the after sales prices are going up to like 200, 170. I think it's 155 ICP now. And I was like, wow, this is for a beta, right? This is for something that is experimental. Developers have told us it's experimental, and it's already going insane. And I think that has to do with the historical value of it, that it's the very first one. So it's special in a way. But what can you tell us about the future of the SNS1 token, the future of SNS1? What do you think it's actually going to be used for? Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, good questions. And yeah, definitely the aftermarket prices are crazy. And I guess a warning for everyone that don't invest anything that that you can't afford to lose. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it a beta. I would rather call it a test or experiment, because it's live on the mainnet and a real SNS DAO was created, and people are already creating proposals and voting on real SNS proposals. So, because beta implies that there will be an upgrade to it that production, and now this is already in production. And of course, the SNS team is working on adding features, and there are a few things that you still can't do, like increasing dissolve delay, but that should come, I think, soon. I don't want to promise dates. It never really worked at Dfinity. And yes, it's about the future of SNS1, and that's the fun part, because now it is a real DAO. So people can now, currently it's the dApp itself is only a little front end that contains a black hole NFT. That is a black hole canister. That is the letter that we address to the community. And now, after the sale, it's the community's DAO, and basically you guys can do whatever you want with SNS1. We will be helping with initially creating and setting up proposals, teaching people how to vote or how to change the code and these basic technical things, so that SNS1 DAO can actually be self-sustainable. And you wouldn't need necessarily us to make changes, but you can, a few developers in the community can go ahead and start creating code changes and proposals, and then push them through and have the DAO function as a DAO. You come up with an idea, maybe you create a motion proposal, you check if people like it, And if they vote through it, and if they vote adopt and they like your idea, then you go ahead, develop it. And yeah, I mean, I expect it to be for a long time about memes and just having fun. I don't know, have you seen the second proposal?
No, I have not, and I do apologize for that mistake about calling it a beta. I
No,
meant
no, no.
it's new. It's a
Makes
new thing. But
Yeah.
no, I have not seen. Can you tell us more about that?
I'm not going to. You're in for a surprise. And actually, Discovery implemented already in a week an integration with proposals, so you can now vote through OpenChat or Discover, which is crazy. I think it's super cool. I mean, currently, we don't have the voting UI on the NNS yet, uh, because we expected that more developers or more teams will want to create their own UI through which you can vote, and you just add a hotkey to your neuron, and then you have that set up in the dApp itself. So, for example, let's say if district wants to have their SNS voting, I mean, of course, after they become a DAO, they'll want to have the voting. But what I mean is, they will probably want to have the voting in the district app itself, or in the district app, because you're voting about district related features, so you might as well do that through district once you connect it to your neurons, which makes sense. So I mean, I'm really curious how SNS1 looks like a year from now. It could be that people just after a while get bored and forget it, but I think there will always be at least a community of people who enjoy messing around with SNS1. And actually, SNS1, it should be a test for not just whether SNS itself works, but how the whole governance system of SNS works. Because I mean, it's fun to watch the token price charts. Let's remind ourselves that the SNS and SNS1 is about governance and creating a DAO that is community governed, and it is being built by the community. So that is, and tokens are just used. Governance tokens are used to facilitate this governance through the SNS. And I mean, yeah, I'm really curious what people will come up with. And there are already some ideas in the forums and in Discover. People are already chatting in open chat what to do with SNS1. And this was our intention. We create the first SNS as a test. We give it to the community, or we not give it. We launched a sale, but as Dfinity didn't take a cut from the tokens, and we have an allocation of 12 that was needed to have voting still working while the sale was going on. Other than that, it's I'm happy to see that people are already coming up with ideas on what to do with the SNS1, and it could be something very simple. Like it could be that you guys keep it more. It could be just a meme story where it just posts random stuff once a day, or it could be just different motivational texts every day. But I mean, it's from the current ideas, I think it's gonna be more fun than just motivational quotes. So far, the community has been really rallying behind SNS1, and I mean, it hit trending quite a few times on Twitter. It's it's definitely fun to watch.
Nice. I do agree with that. One thing that I would like to add about DAOs and about SNS1 is currently, and I'm not saying it's the same thing, but currently a lot of software companies for years have been running under the classic corporation model. So you have big tech like Amazon, Microsoft, a lot of these big tech companies, and they're all owned by it starts off usually by a single owner, and the company goes public, and then there's a lot of stock owners that own that company, and they get of course they get part of the profits, right? That's part of the being a corporation, but also they get governance, right? People, the board of directors, whatever, people who own these stocks get to vote on how the company functions. And when it comes to DAOs, even if it's something fun like memes or whatever, I think the future of software, and this is what caught my attention about ICP from the beginning.
Same.
The future of software is going to be ran by a bunch of people all over the world, anonymous. And I'm not saying ICPs are security or tokens or securities or anything like that. But what I am saying is that governance is going to be for software companies. Number one, it's going to run full. They're going to run fully on chain. They're going to run on the world computer, right? And number two, that software or those software companies, tech companies, the future tech companies are going to be ran by DAOs. So currently we have things like OpenChat, Discover, District, et cetera, et cetera. We have all these companies, and I think they're all going to be using the SNS or some sort of DAO. I know one of our community members built his own DAO, Sig DAO or something like that. But
Yeah.
all of these companies are going to be ran by DAOs. So people, like just regular random people, which is already the case if you can afford stocks or whatever, that are going to be able to vote. And not only if you own like a huge millions of dollars of a company, but just, I mean, buy one SNS1 token or something, and you can vote on the whole future of the whole thing. So for those viewers that are watching this, this is why this is exciting. This is why it's a big deal. Software and tech, whole tech companies are going to be ran in a whole different way. I don't know how profits are going to work out and dividends and stuff like that because of securities laws or whatever, but I do know this: governance is going to go back to the hands of the people. And I know there's so much commotion going on by Twitter being bought and stuff like that. But in the future, like, we will decide all of those things, right? We will decide censorship. People who own ICP tokens will decide as a whole. People who own SNS tokens will decide for that specific app, and that's something that gets me personally excited about ICP. But I'll let you speak, Andrew.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You basically said everything that I should have. So it's yeah, very much so. I mean, currently this whole system that we have in technology is very centralized. There are a few huge companies that own basically everything online, which is crazy to think. I mean, we should ask ourselves: should the world town hall be owned by one person, and should that person have complete power over what something like Twitter does? And we have the world has its discussion on Twitter live every day, and it's now owned by one guy, which is, I mean, I love Elon, but it's still, this is incredibly centralized, and it has this risk that whatever he decides or he wants, then that's going to be the future of Twitter. And the same with Facebook, and the same with all these companies. I mean, imagine how much different and how much better would Facebook be if Zuck asked us what kinds of features we want, and do we want our data to be sold to advertising companies, and do we want our to see ads in everywhere, even now in the Messenger app, then you can see ads. And of course, we would vote that no, this is not what we want. And also, it's not just the fact that basically a few people decide what billions of people will use, but the fact that all of the profits go to these few large shareholders. I mean, you can buy Facebook stock and then you get some, I think Facebook pays dividends. But even if it didn't, few of the large owners get all the profits, and you buying a share is it's not equivalent of having or owning a part of a DAO, because the DAO, the community-owned DAO, is likely to create incentives in the dApp that benefit the users. It's a complete shift of how technologies should work and how they will work. And I completely agree with you. And this is something that Jordan Last said once in an interview, that as we've moved away from centralized governments like dictatorships 1,000 years ago to more and more decentralized societies and countries, the same is going to happen on the technology front, on the internet. The internet was meant to be decentralized, and a few companies figured out how to take most of the power and created these large entities. But it looks like, from my point of view, then, and for what Jordan said, is that we are moving on the same path of decentralization as we did with governance, and having that go from centralized to decentralized. And it's, I mean, democracy might not be perfect, but it's the best that we have so far, and I think it works well enough that it's a lot better alternative than having basically one guy decide what everyone does. And yeah, I mean, he can just decide tomorrow that now Twitter costs 100. He won't, because it's stupid, but he could just say it costs $100 a month, otherwise you can't use it. And what would we say? Okay.
Yeah, and with specifically with the Elon thing, I'm not necessarily anti-Elon. I am, though, a skeptic, so I'm a little bit different than the people that are super excited that Twitter got purchase and stuff, I'm more like, I don't know. Like, I might have not been the most fond of the previous owner, but owners, but I'm also skeptic because again, it's in the hands of just like one person, one group of people. That's why I'm so excited about ICP. I'm so excited about all of these DAOs that are going to come up. One of the biggest complaints by a lot of people were that a lot of these DApps were actually still far too centralized. So with these turnkey DAOs, well, you go, problem solved. Now you get this. So I'm super excited. Even in one of the videos I made about ICP, that's one of the main things I did. So the first thing I in my mind, and maybe I was thinking too hard, but I was like, wow, software and big tech is going to run under like decentralized governance. It's gonna be huge.
I mean, we won't have big tech because big tech will be replaced by these DAOs, right? Like you don't,
Mhm.
and you can only have big tech if you have decentralized large entities. And
Yeah.
now, I mean, this I want to press this that SNS was basically the promise of the internet computer from day one. Like that's what the internet computer was meant to do. And now, I mean, it took a few years for Dfinity to develop the necessary technology, but now it works. People are voting, proposals are going through, or I mean, we've rejected it looks like both of the first two will be rejected, but other than that, it's a functioning DAO, completely on chain, which not many other chains can say, or sorry, zero other chains can say that their DAO is 100% decentralized, 100% hosted on the blockchain. Since and it's also, I think it's a very unique and very important distinction that the internet computer has. That you running a DAO and whatever application, let's just take Twitter or District. If you have the front end running from AWS or Google Cloud or from wherever, you didn't quite decentralize your dApp, even though let's say your backend or some of your backend is running on running by or run through smart contracts and it's controlled by a DAO, because you need everything to be controlled by the DAO. Otherwise, you can basically just stop paying the credit card bill for AWS and the front end shuts down, and now users can no longer access the dApp that you were running. And people can vote on proposals and still have their tokens in the backend. But if you don't have the front end, if someone decides who controls the front end that they either got bored and no longer want to develop it, and it gets outdated and it crashes, then it's tough luck for the rest of us. But in a computer, if the whole dApp is controlled by the SNS or whatever else DAO, then you don't have that problem, and you can have, as I said, completely decentralized applications running and be used by millions of people. I mean, currently there was the Haronaut got a little bit of attention recently. I don't know if you've seen it.
I did see a post by Dominic Williams that they're burning so many cycles that they ran out of cycles. So I think that's incredibly impressive. In one of my videos that was ICP most bullish scenarios, I said this. I said if only one DApp, gets over 1 million users, it's going to be insane for the burning of
Yeah.
ICP. So that's two things. I'll leave that for another video. But if we get 90% of ICP staked and we get a huge, massive burning from DApps, there's no way ICP doesn't go to the moon. Now, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but wow, just looking at those numbers. But let's take a moment. If you're watching this video, you have a question for Andrew or for myself, go ahead and type it in the comments. I can't make them pop out here, but I'll be reading them. I'm reading them here on my phone. So if you have any questions, go ahead and let us know. Especially Andrew, he's the engineer here. And let us know what are your questions. If you have any questions about SNS, DAOs, Dfinity, and I'll be reading your questions. And
I mean, I can't comment about the price, obviously, but it's having 1 million users would be incredible. And well, yeah, I mean, what I want to say about burning how do not burn through 4,000 trillion cycles in about an hour. And I did a little bit of math, and I looked at if TikTok has 3 billion users, and if Haronat got all those users tomorrow or acquired them tomorrow, they would burn through all the ICP in half an hour, or 492 million ICP or 90 something million ICP. of course, it wouldn't work like that. The IC can't host 3 billion people just yet. And also, as you start burning that much ICP, then the price would change. But yeah, definitely exciting. And we need, network usage is probably the best metric for any blockchain, because it shows how well the computer performs, as in community wise, and just its utility, how far it surpasses other chains, for example. Because you have there are a few charts that we posted where you see network usage just going down, like dropping 90% on chains like Solana or Ethereum, because most of the gas burned are burnt using dexes, and all the transactions coming from dexes. While Khan showed a few of those, yes. Well, in our computer, we've been on a parabolic cycles burned path, because the dApps that you can use in a computer are not dependent on market volatility, or it's just, these are useful, fun dApps that people use regardless if it's a bear market or a bull market. I assume if the bull market starts again, then there will be some speculation and people will just come in and use the dApps because they've heard about it in a computer and they tried a few of these. I heard about the token first before I heard about the project, but then I looked at our research what the computer does, and I was like, this is incredible. And this was like 1.5 years ago, but I'm just as excited as I was back then. And now being a part of it and seeing it from the inside, it's very exciting. The future of the net computer. I would love to see these like proper large scale decentralized social media apps running on the net computer. And now Discover has 160,000 users, something like that. And during the SNS1 airdrop and the announcements and so on, like Rick showed me, they just tripled their daily active users right after that. It's I think Discover is probably the largest decentralized social media app running. It's by daily active users. On most chains you can't, well, almost all chains you can't have this traffic, or can't sustain this traffic of having thousands of daily active users interacting with the blockchain. And of course, it's not free. So because the computer has the reverse gas model, users who register on Discover don't need to pay for cycles or for gas. But yeah, I want to emphasize this: that whenever you click the upvote button or you make a comment, you're actually updating the state of the chain. And in other blockchains, when you update the state, you pay a little bit of gas fee. And as a user, you can just register without even creating a wallet. You just register with your phone using internet identity, and you're good to go. You don't need to charge anything. On the other hand, Discover has been famous for giving airdrops to people. So not only not charging you for using the app, but it's rewarding you. So this is what Web3 should be. Of course, now that brings another problem of people trying to game the system and then creating bots and making fake comments or upvoting their own stuff. But that's a problem that we have to figure out for Web3, because we should incentivize and reward proper normal usage of dApps and these communities, but somehow figure out how not to have the whole thing gamed by a few people who just want to get free stuff.
Yeah, I did see a lot of that going on. So let's go ahead and read some of the questions. Number one, let's see. Where can we buy SNS? I think there's two places. I think it's available on ICPSwap, if I'm not mistaken, and ICDEX. So on Twitter, just type ICDEX, and I think that's the main one where you can buy the SNS token.
I think last time I checked on ICPSwap, you don't have liquidity. So
okay, there's no liquidity anymore. Okay.
Yeah. No, not anymore. But even from the beginning, there was only like 0.9 SNS1 tokens and the whole liquidity pool. So you can't buy.
Okay.
But if it changed since then sure. I assume that people will eventually add liquidity, especially after a few of the tokens become liquid after they dissolve.
Okay. Well, you can get it on ICDEX.
Yeah.
And then second question, let's see, where did it go? Can you explain how burning really works in relation to the scaling of a DApp? I think that's
Uh,
probably the best question for you, Andrew.
what? Can you ask it again?
Can you explain how burning really works in relation to the scaling of a DApp? So I'm assuming when the DApp grows, how does burning work?
So you pay for, if I'm not mistaken, for two things currently. One is the update costs, and they cost some cycles. No, a couple of things. So when you create a canister, that costs you cycles. If I'm not mistaken, it's trillion cycles, but I don't remember exactly. When you create a canister smart contract, that burns cycles, but also as you get users and users interact with your dApp, and by extension with the intercomputer blockchain, the update calls, or like it would be similar to post calls that update the chain, they cost cycles depending on the amount of computation that is being done. And you also pay for storage. So for example, Entrepot uploaded now more than a terabyte of NFT asset data. That's insane. Like they are storing a terabyte of NFT assets on chain, and it costs $5 per gigabyte per
Was it
year to
like
hold
$5,000?
per year. Yeah, exactly, $5,000 per
Yeah,
year.
wow, that's amazing. Imagine storing a terabyte on Ethereum or Solana or something. That'd be like, they're like, yeah, so $1 million, right? That's crazy. It's
No,
insane.
no, 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 no. It would be it costs $79 million on Ethereum to store 1 gigabyte.
Like $1 trillion.
So it would be 7.9 trillion, I think. Could be,
Oof,
yeah.
that's crazy.
I mean,
And
but even if you had $7.9 trillion to burn, it's not technically possible to upload a terabyte to any other chain. I mean,
that's insane.
you can't upload even an image on like a small image to
So,
Ethereum.
so let's see. We have a question from Bitcoin Renegade again. Hope you get better, homie. And this question is: how does the SNS benefit everyday crypto user? Is they're staking rewards? Do I need a PC or can I use mobile?
You can use, I mean, you can use whatever device you can create an internet identity on, because so currently you would store you would have your SNS1 neuron or SNS1 tokens in the NNS, but now Discover is building out a neuron management system, because some people accidentally put their Discover principal in the airdrop, so they didn't get their SNS1 token in the NNS, but they got them on Discover, and those tokens exist because the NNS doesn't care what principal you give it. It will just send the airdrop there. So, and now because quite a few people have, not quite a few, I don't know exactly how many, but a few people have SNS1 neurons on their Discover, you will be able to see those neurons once Discover finishes building out this neural management system. But the question was, oh yeah, there are no voting rewards currently. So the minimum staking is 1 month. And if you stake for 1 month, then you can vote on proposals, but there are currently no voting rewards. I want to also stress that I mean, since it's a DAO now, any of these configurations can be changed. If you want to add, I don't know, 1% a year inflation and then give that out as voting rewards, then you can propose that, and then if the DAO adopts it, then you will have voting rewards. I guess it's the reason we wanted to keep SNS1 very simple, so that's why we didn't set up voting rewards. I mean, it's not technically complex to set up. It's just changing a number from 0 to something else. But it also incentivizes people to keep their SNS1 token logged to actually vote, and like to manually vote, and not just for the voting rewards. Because I mean, a lot of people stake ICP for the voting rewards, and that's fine. And you should stake, and you should get your sweet 18% for an 8-year neuron annually. And for SNS1 currently, you should be voting on proposals. There are 2 now. So I heard you just told me that you got a neuron in SNS, so you're
Yeah.
eligible to vote. Please do.
There you go. Absolutely. And the next question is, please, I would like to know if those that bought on the SNS One on a decentralized exchange can stake it. and will also be able to vote on a proposal. I will be glad if Andrew can address this. So I did hear that you can't increase dissolve delay currently. Is that so for the people that bought on a DEX? Can they go and stake so they can vote, or not yet?
Not yet. Yeah. So there are a few functionalities that are not implemented yet, and that is it should be coming soon. So currently you can't lock your liquid tokens, and you can't increase dissolve delay, and you can't split, and some other things that the NNS already has with ICP. But these all of these should be added soon. That means that you can lock your neuron. I mean, I'm almost tempted to check if if it's already implemented, because I've heard that it might be coming today. But yeah, no
Okay,
promises.
wow, that's really fast. All right, so I think that's all the questions that we see. But do you have anything else you would like to add, so we can say goodbye to our users? Again, thank you for coming, Andrew. Anything else you'd like to add?
I mean, just share a bit of my excitement for both the future of SNS and SNS1 itself. I think it's, as I said before, it is the main feature basically of our computer, and the fact that you can now have these completely decentralized applications running as DAOs fully on chain, I think is super, super cool. And eventually, I mean, as Bitcoin integration is being used in DEXs, you can imagine you will be able to buy SNS1 or other SNS tokens using Bitcoin. How cool is that?
Wow. That's the future of technology. You can buy software companies and with Bitcoin and vote on it. That's mind blown. Owning digital assets, and I think it's so cool. You know, we started off with pictures on Ethereum. I think what was the first one was like a rock or something, and then some monkeys or whatever, apes. And I think it's an incredible advancement that in the not so far future, people will use their Bitcoin to buy shares in a way, shares. I don't want to get with securities laws, but shares of technology companies with Bitcoin, right? So you can own all these tech companies by
Governance
using
token, yes.
governance tokens. You can own governance tokens for all of these tech companies with your Bitcoin, with your Ethereum, right? With your ICP. And I think it's going to be amazing. I don't even want to, I don't even imagine what's going to happen. So I'm also very excited about this. Again, Andrew, thank you for coming. Thank you everybody for watching. I'm Victor ICP Squad, and catch you guys next